Welcome to the Orville City Council meeting, May 5th, 2020, where we are reconvening from closed session, where direction was given and no action was taken.
Mr. Mayor, because of technical difficulty, could we have the roll call again, please?
Madam Clerk, may we have the roll?
Councilmember Pittman.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Hatley. Here. Councilmember Thompson, or Vice Mayor Thompson. Here. Mayor Reynolds.
Here.
Via our electronic communication, Councilmember Goodson.
Here.
Councilmember Draper.
Here.
Thank you.
Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Salute. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Hatley.
Yes.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Draper.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
Yeah.
And Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
At this time, we're going to open the meeting up to public communication, the hearing of non-agenda items. Is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Have we received any email comments, Ms.
We
Glover?
have not received any public comments for tonight's meeting other than for item 8, and I emailed it to everyone.
Thank you. We have no public comment at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Having no public comment, we are closing the public communication and moving on to the consent calendar. Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I move to adopt.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hatley? Yes. Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yeah.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
The motion carries 7-0.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open this up for public hearing. I believe we have one item on public hearing. Mr. City Administrator, do you care to explain?
Just one moment, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to look outside one more time and see if the appellant is here. At this moment, as far as I'm aware, he is not present. Mr. Mayor and Council, the appellant is not present. He does not appear to be outside. My recommendation is that we continue with the public hearing and hear the appeal and let the council make a decision regarding the appellant's request to the council. So at this time, what I'd like to do is just turn this over to our planner so that he can give you a brief overview of this and the process that he followed. The two appeals that we are here to hear tonight is the lack of public notice is one of the appeals, the other, or an improper public notice. The second is the oversaturation of alcohol use permits. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Irvin so that he can explain to you the process that he followed, and then also from there, we can have Mr. Ritchie provide any detail that he needs for the council to hear about this. Then when we're done with that, the proponents for the project are present, and we will check with them and see if they would like to come in and speak to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. On February 27th, the Planning Commission approved a new 6,000 square foot convenience store with 10 gas pumps, 4 high flow diesel pumps for trucks, and a truck scale. The project is located at 350 Oro Dam Boulevard, which is our last developable freeway corner there at the interchange. The project required development review by the Planning Commission and the corresponding ability to add conditions. Though the project itself is a permitted use in its C2 zone, alcohol sales, their applicants proposing to sell beer and wine, required a use permit. The Planning Commission approved the project with the use permit, imposed conditions, and approved an 85-foot sign to go with the project and a tentative map at a subsequent Planning Commission meeting. The appeal, as Bill has explained, has three arguments. The one that's procedural, that the public notice was inadequate because it did not mention alcohol sales. The city attorney has concluded that it was adequate because it was broad enough to cover the entire project, and I don't know if you want to add to that or not. The others was an economic argument about harm to existing convenience stores in an already highly competitive environment. The Planning Commission heard and considered that argument as part of its approval process. The third one was a public safety argument that alcohol sales at that location might promote what I'm going to term as public drunkenness among the resident homeless population. The Planning Commission heard and considered that argument too. So before concluding your deliberations, please be aware of two things. One is that Maverick has sent a letter opposing the appeal, asking you to deny it and continue to approve the project. Staff concurs. And secondly, the council's resolution in the agenda packet had a typo, and a revised resolution has been provided to you, so that we ask that you adopt the resolution as amended. As Bill has mentioned, Mike Michaels and John Vaccaro are here representing the applicant, and they're available for questions. So staff recommends denial of the appeal and letting the Planning Commission approval stand.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the dais?
Oh, sure, I'll make a comment.
Vice Mayor Thompson, please.
I'm just to state that I'm on board with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We live in a capitalist country, so you have alcohol sales at all around that corner. Yes, it's they can say it's saturated. You can get it at Smart and Final. You can get it right there at the AM/PM, and right down the street at the Naz Food Market. So we as a council, from my understanding, have wanted to move forward and say we're open for business. And so with that, welcome new businesses that come to town. And I think that denying their desire to have business come to town would be the opposite of that. So it's my 2 cents.
Mr. Ritchie, do you have any comments that you would like to provide the council?
Well, I did want to, first of all, echo the city administrator's concept that he felt that you should proceed with the appeal regardless of the fact that the appellant had not appeared. The appellant did make written submissions, so that would be sufficient for you to consider those. The appellant also was going to be provided an opportunity to come into the council chambers, although we had discussed the proceedings with respect to witnesses given the circumstances of the virus. If the proponent is also wishing to appear, I think that you should hear from the proponent before you finalize your decision. The proponent should also be allowed to come in and speak directly to you. Other witnesses that are not parties, however, I think you reasonably could say could testify from the lobby one at a time. I also recommend one at a time for any coming before you. And then with respect to staff's comment about the notice was very broad with respect to the project itself. It didn't differentiate between by right and discretionary uses that would require a conditional use permit. Those uses that were approved by the Planning Commission did have conditions attached, and so it's not it's not an issue that wasn't canvassed before. The notice, I think, is broad enough to cover all of the aspects of that project.
Thank you. Mr. City Administrator, can you produce the proponent?
I will look with them. I just want to check just for sure. Mr. Lando, do you believe that we have met the threshold of meeting all of the findings that are necessary?
I do.
Based
Based on the planning commission record.
I had a comment.
Councilmember Smith?
Thank you. And it essentially dovetails on Vice Mayor Thompson's comments. And that when it comes to competitiveness within businesses, like similar businesses, that actually that when you look at some of the stats on that, that it can create a synergy. That, you know, when, for an example, I think of the Lodi exit, Highway 12, where you have a Love's, a Flying J, and there's another truck stop, there's Arco, Chevron, there's a whole cluster there, and they're all grouped up very, very close, across the street from each other, 2 major truck stops. And so with that dynamic, you actually create a synergy where we can actually see additional revenues and people stopping. So, I mean, there's actually an upside to this. You know, locals may be looking at it from a particular perspective, but it's not always a bad thing when you have an additional competitor come to town. It can actually really be a positive. And I just wanted to add that as a comment, and that this could really be a good thing, and even for those that are concerned, the local businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Lando, were you finished with your comment?
I was.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the proponent for the project is present in the council chambers now. I will check again outside as the proponent speaks to you to see if the appellant has arrived late.
Thank you. Come forward, sir, please.
Great. Good evening, Mayor Reynolds and City Council members. My name is Mike Michaels with Cartwright NorCal Civil Engineers. We're the civil engineers on the project, and I'm happy to be here tonight representing Maverick. Because of the COVID-19 and these interesting times, they are kind of grounded and unable to be here, so I'm here representing tonight. Just want to again thank staff, the Planning Commission, for all their efforts and working with us and getting us to a point of hopefully approval, and this City Council for allowing us to be here tonight to answer any questions that you may have and provide any input. Okay.
Is there anyone from this dais that has any questions? I have one. The appeal is based on sale of alcohol? Is that the main proponent for the?
So there are 3 aspects to the appeal. Deficiency in the notice, the public
which
safety
we've determined to be void.
The and the one that you're talking about, the sufficiency, the public safety issues of the sale of alcohol in a location where there are proximate to a resident transient population, which I can't speak to any of the facts of that, but that is one of the aspects of the appeal. Yes.
So I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Attorney. Are alcohol sales legal in this jurisdiction?
To my knowledge, yes.
Are they legal in the federal jurisdiction?
I am not aware that alcohol sales are illegal. Prohibition ended quite some number of decades ago.
Thank you. Is your main source of sales alcohol?
No.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Welcome to Orville.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
So staff is requesting a motion to adopt the amended resolution which would deny the appeal.
Looking for a motion to adopt the resolution to deny the appeal.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, just prior to anyone making that motion, I did check again just a moment ago, and the appellant is still not present.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could you clarify, are there any other witnesses that have attended?
Yes, I went out front. There is nobody present out front.
Thank you. Having none, looking for a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Number 1.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman? Yes. Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yeah.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Welcome.
And with that, we're going to close the public hearing and move on to regular business. Item number 7 for regular business, amend the Orville Municipal Code, Section 3.32, by adding subsection 3.32.145, Development Impact Fee Deferrals. Mr. DePaula?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'm here tonight, as the Mayor said, to add the subsection on development impact fee deferrals. We're here for Council to discuss and consider the first reading of the ordinance, as well as we recommend that you waive the first reading and approve the amendment to Section 3.32 of the Municipal Code to include subsection 3.32.45 development impact fees. I will do a quick clarity just to add a little bit so that everybody understands what we are doing here. By allowing development impact fees to be deferred, and this isn't permitting fees or plan check fees or inspection fees, it's development impact fees specifically. They make up about 80% of the permitting fees that go out on a project. By allowing those to be deferred for up to 1 year or to final, whatever comes first, we feel that helps development and spur it by allowing that money to be injected directly into more development at that time and give them time to be able to pay those fees at the end when the impact is actually incurred at the end of the project when they're occupied. We had a deferral or development impact fee credit and deferral program that was very vague, and this kind of clarifies it so we know exactly the projects that qualify and as well as the fees that would go along for the administration, because it's not just a giveaway. They have to pay a $500 fee or 2%, whatever's least, to cover the administration of those things during the course of construction, because it does have to be recorded and put in escrow account and that sort of thing. So it's but it does give them that freedom to be able to continue to develop those projects and hopefully spur more development. If I have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
If I can just add a comment, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, so that everybody listening, I did step out for a moment, so this may have been covered, but I want to make sure that we're really crystal clear on this. Any impact fees that are waived are not, when we talk about a project, we're not talking about a development that has 600 houses in it, and at the end of the 600 house being built, that we will get those impact fees. It's on an individual case basis. So if you build a project with 100 houses in it, as each one it reaches either that 1 year maximum or it is sold, we collect those impact fees. So it's not, there was a concern expressed that you could have developments. We have a lot of developments on the books that have went on for 20 years. So it isn't that we're putting this out there and this just kind of runs forever. It's an incentive to encourage development in the city of Oroville by allowing the cash to be more flexible and flowing in the project so that they're not, cash poor as they build these projects.
To add to that, has nothing to do with subdivision fees. Okay, it has to do with building permit fees. They are issued one at a time per house. Those fees would be deferred until the permit was finalized, or 1 year, whatever comes first, for that particular structure. Okay, it has nothing to do with subdivision fees at all. So if you build a subdivision, you pay all your fees to get the subdivision in place. If you build 2 homes, you'd be able to defer the fees on 2 homes. And then when those are final, you would pay those fees. And if it's sat for 10 years, there's no other fees that are incurred. There would be no other fees to defer. If you start it back up, you could apply to defer fees again. And at that point in time, you would defer them per structure, per building permit. They don't have anything to do with subdivision fees.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the public that wishes to comment?
Mr. Mayor, I did not have any speakers for this item.
Having none, are there any comments from the dais?
I just have one, just real quick. This is why we hired
Member
you.
Smith?
This is why we hired you. I read your staff report. I think this is brilliant. That to provide additional opportunities for business to come. Because as, you know, if you're in this industry, you know that those are real hard costs that can be prohibitive. And so just finding creative ways to entice business to Orville, we just really appreciate it, and good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to comment? Looking for a motion on item number 7. Staff recommends council waive the first reading and approve the amendment to section 3.32 of the City of Orville Municipal Code, OMC, to include the new subsection 3.32.145 development impact fee deferrals. Looking for a motion.
So I'll move that we amend Orville Municipal Code Section 3.32 and add section 3.32.145, development impact fees, and that we waive the first reading and approve the amendment of sections 3.32 of the City of Orville Municipal Code, and to include the subsection of 3.32.145 of the development impact deferrals.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yeah.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
The motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item number 8, 2019-2020 Community Development Block Grant Application. Mr. City Administrator.
Mr. Mayor, I need to, for the record, say that I need to recuse myself from this. My wife is the Executive Director of Catalyst Domestic Violence Services, one of the applicants.
Thank you, Mr. Lando. Mr. Lando has excused himself. Mr. City Administrator.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. What you have before you is a consideration and application for our 2019-2020 Community Block Development Grant, commonly referred to as CDBG. This year, it was put out and advertised that we were accepting application for that for community services, and also in-house, we have come up with 2 activities that we would like to continue. I have Ms. Bergstrom here to discuss those activities, but I will go over them with you quickly and give you kind of a 40,000-foot overview, and then if necessary, Ms. Bergstrom can drill down on it and drill down into it and give a little bit a tighter view of what we're talking about. The 2 activities that the city would like to do would be the first-time homebuyers program, continue that program. The city is allowed up to 6 applications, and we are eligible for $3.5 million in CDBG dollars. Of those dollars and those 6 applications, 1 application that we would like to make is to the Community Block Development Grant for $1 million for first-time homebuyer. The second application that we would like to make would be for the low-income home repair program for the City of Orville. We believe there's a lot of homes in the City of Orville that and homeowners that could use this assistance. That grant would be for $750,000. So $1.7 million as that stands right now. We did receive several applications for community-based programs. Those programs that we received application for was from the YMCA of Superior, California, in an amount of $165,900 per year for a total of $497,700. We received an application from Orville South Community Improvement Association for $11,500 per year for a total of $35,000. We received an application from the Orville Hope Center for $376,450 per year for a total request of $1,129,350. We received a request from Catalyst Domestic Violence in a total of $120,000 per year for a total of $360,000 for 3 years. And we also received an application from the Axiom Youth Services for $59,905 per year for a 3-year request total of $179,715. Of those activities, we have met with the executive team members and discussed those. The ones that the executive team members said that they could support of these projects, I'll get to in a moment. we have been in contact with our state representative from CDBG regarding these applications and regarding specifically the viability of these applications. What we were informed is that CDBG, the eligible activities do include homeless activities or support of homeless issues that may exist in the community. However, CDBG is not focusing on those and is likely not to fund those. The reason for that is that CDBG has, the representative stated that there are a multitude of programs out there of homeless dollars, and the direction of the state at this time is that it is an eligible activity, but it's not one that is most likely going to be supported. Now, keeping in mind that we only have 6 applications, we have to make the best possible decision we can with the most likely to be supported. So what we have to do is stay within the $3.5 million and make good choices as far as how we're going to proceed with our applications. After meeting with everybody, discussing it amongst staff, the activities that we believe that will most likely be funded and supported by the state is the YMCA for $497,700 for a 3-year term. This will be for childcare for individuals that are of lower income or moderate income, and also activities for summer activities, I believe, for those kids. We'll let Amy drill down on that. The second activity that we believe is important to support for the city is the Catalyst Domestic Violence Program. I have provided the council that is present with a hard copy of an email received from the Catalyst director regarding this. The statistics are, it's very good that we have this service. It's just very troubling that we need it at this level. So I will email that to Councilperson Draper and Goodson here shortly, just so that they can take a look at that too. But her email that we received from Anastasia Snyder is lays it out pretty well why this is a necessary activity for the city. The third activity that we believed was important was the Axiom and would be funded is the Axiom Youth Services. That is after-school activities for lack of a better term, I think the term is tweens and teens, to keep them involved in the community. They do a lot of activities downtown and are supportive to that age group down there. So those are the applicants that we suggest. That will leave us with a total of 5 applications that we're making. 3 applications for community services, 2 applications, because each one has to be individual, for the first-time home buyer and the the home repair program. Those are 2 applications, so we have 5 there. That leaves us with a total of about $1 million sitting on eligible. We're sitting on that application, working toward the end of the year to see where we're at. What the staff's thought is at this point is that the the 6th and final application could be submitted, because we have until September to submit that application, sometime later in the year, to work toward our affordable housing projects that we have in the city, and potentially either planning or acquisition of properties for that program. So that's kind of what our overall 40,000-foot view process of that is. We did receive another application that I was remiss in not bringing forward to the council. It was a request from the Orville Downtown Business Association for a planning grant, and it was up to $85,000. And I will let Ms. Bergstrom give you more information on why we don't believe that that is one that is going to receive the support of the State Department or CDBG program and be funded. So with that, I will turn this over to any questions that the council may have, and also to Ms. Bergstrand to fill in any of, I'm sure, the gaping lapses in information that I didn't include.
Good evening, Mayor Reynolds and council members. Actually, Bill did a wonderful job. Some of the terms were a little mixed up, but for the most part, he covered everything. We did receive a request for funding for a planning grant for the DBA. I talked extensively with our state reps about a lot of the different requests that we had, and this one really was, the scope was extremely vast, and they did not feel that it would be it could be accomplished in the amount of time and with the amount of funding that was here. I had talked to several consultants too regarding this, because we haven't done a planning grant in several years, and they were kind of confident. They want basically want to do inventory of vacant buildings downtown, and what kind of businesses we should bring in downtown. And there's a whole marketing scheme, and there's a lot of different things that they were listed. The biggest problem with the planning grants now is that every activity that's funded has to have a national objective that it answers. And basically it's low mod housing, is it an urgent need? And there's 3 of them. And or if you bring jobs. So if for whatever reason this planning grant was accepted and implemented, then it would need to bring jobs to the city, and it's a really difficult nexus to connect those 2 together. So I was kind of advised from the state that this wouldn't score very competitively, as well as Bill mentioned earlier, the homeless, because there was a lot of funding through COC with ESG grants and different grants that are addressed for just homeless, that they really felt like CDBG is not the home for those subjects right now, that they would not be competitive in scoring in this application. So that's really the gist of it. You'll see that for YMCA, they requested for 3 years 497, and we've listed 500,000. Every activity that we do, we take general admin off the top, which is 7% of the request to pay for staff time. And additional, there are activities that also have activity delivery, which is based on the activity. It could be anywhere from 8% to 20%, which is the rehab is 20%. So we would have to decrease the award amount for the YMCA in order to pay for staff too. So it would be a total of 500,000, and theirs would be decreased by 7% to pay for the general admin for city staff.
Thank you. Do we have any public that wishes to comment?
The only public comment that I received was from Anastasia Snyder, and I emailed that to all 7 of you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the dais? Councilmember Pittman?
Thank you, I appreciate that. And a question. My first comment is, serving on the exec committee, we spent a lot of time reviewing all the applications to let the rest of the council know. There was a lot of discussion about what would work, what doesn't work, what has worked, and then what are the credits that would give an applicant the best chance of getting funding from the Community Development Block Grant Program. So just to be aware that we did spend a lot of time with these applications. And then the sad thing is all these applications have merit and have warranted ideas and good things. It's just we have a certain amount of dollars for the programs, and this list that you see before you is basically our end result of that product in those discussions. The one question I have, and you may not be able to answer this, but under the Catalyst program, they mentioned here in one of the listings, shelter bed nights. Are they actually filling those bed nights by way of a motel, or is there a facility they have for this, or how do they do that?
The shelter bed nights that are mentioned in this email to the council is actually, they're placing people into motels.
Okay.
You know, securing them there. Our police department works with them. They provide credit cards or reimbursement of that. So it's, we don't have a Catalyst shelter in the city of Orville, so the sheltered nights are there.
Okay.
I believe some of it too would account for, though, people that are long-term sheltered at their site, their undisclosed site that we can't.
Well, no, and I appreciate that. I just was wondering if there is a need down the line, because there's so many here to eventually have a facility for that. I don't know if that's their direction or whatever, but that seems like an awful lot. Of course, that's our problem, and that's why I think that this group is very well worth to be supported. So thank you. Appreciate that answer.
And I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Smith?
Yeah. So, Amy, maybe just in a nutshell, you can, because we're talking about $1.75 million for the general constituency of Orville, for the citizens. And so maybe just in a nutshell, so we're talking about Homeowner Assistance program for our constituencies, and then also rehab program. So if I live in Orville, how, and so this is for everybody. So how might, maybe just in a nutshell, or where do they need to go to access these dollars? So, and this is for anyone in Orville that owns a home.
For the rehab program, yes. In order to receive funding to repair your home, you have to be owner occupied in the city limits of Orville. You have to have a credit score of at least 620, no current collections, and then also be income qualified, which would be 80% or below area median income in order to qualify based on family size. Additionally, that was not me. Additionally, where was I?
Homeownership.
So the rehab needs to fund health and safety issues first, and then there's up to 10% of general rehab. If there was something like they needed a new floor or something that wasn't health and safety be addressed, they could do up to 10% of it, but most of it's to secure health and safety. We can do a fully amortized loan for repayment, or we can do a deferred payment, and it's deferred for 5 years or until they're income qualified, based on their, this is a lot of information, but based on their debt to income ratio. If it's over 35%, then we automatically defer it for 5 years. And then in 5 years, we review their income again to see if they can afford a fully amortized payment. In the past, we used to do interest-only payments also, but the state has put out new guidelines that they would like us to adopt that I'll be bringing back at a later date, where we would only probably be doing, unless you guys wanted to continue amortized, either a fully amortized loan or a deferred loan. For the first-time homebuyer program, it's pretty much the same way. You have to income qualify based on family size. We income qualify all 18 or over people that will be living in the home. We use their income to see if they qualify. It's 80% or below. You just need to come to the city hall or ask us to mail an application, and that's how.
But I guess just to make this point real clear, if you'd like to buy a home and you don't think you can qualify,
Yes.
we can help you get into a home.
Yeah, up to 45% of the purchase price we will lend you, or $100,000, whichever is less. It's the home buyer is a deferred loan, so you're not making payments on our loan, but you'll just be making payments on the primary loan, which basically almost cuts your payment in half. And it's a loan term up to 30 years at 3%.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
Yes.
So see Amy.
Yes.
Thank you for that nutshell. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment?
I have just one clarification. With these other grant applicants, thank you. I'm looking for that word. They're not competing with our 1.75, is correct? Those are separate.
They're all separate applications. This public services will compete against each other, but they wouldn't compete against the housing. Housing is, there's housing and then non-housing competitive.
Great,
And so,
okay.
yeah.
Are there any further comments? Having none, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8851.
I make a motion we adopt resolution 8851, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oroville, California, approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2019-2020 funding year of the State of CDBG program.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hatley? Yes. Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yep.
And Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion carries 7-0.
All right, moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Are there any comments from the council or reports?
I just want to mention that the county, on Friday, they're going to be rolling out a stage 2 as far as the response to COVID-19 as to what businesses that are now classified as non-essential will be allowed to open. So if a business is interested in looking at that, they can go to the county's website. And I believe we at the city should, if we don't, we should be putting something up to give additional direction, and or the chamber website where everybody's kind of scrambling because there's been a lot of changes very, very quickly. The governor has kind of had some change, real rapid change here in that direction. So I guess just stand by and check those websites. But it looks like that things are going to be opening up soon. And then there's real specific guidelines that businesses need to be cognitive of as they move forward. So that, and the bottom line is keeping folks safe. You know, it's exciting to think that, hey, you know, finally we're going to start opening here. But what we don't want to have is where then we don't continue, you know, the appropriate practices, and then we have that reinsurgence. We do not want that. So, so just please, you know, be cautious, use common sense, be smart.
Anyone else?
I just want to talk about correspondence received. There's a letter here from State Water Board related to the South Feather Water Power's request or waiver. It's a very long, complicated issue. My concern is I'd like to have maybe somebody from city staff talk with South Feather Water and Power to find out if they need a letter of support from us, because to me, this just reeks of bureaucratic dumping that we've seen so many years of relicensing issues. So I'd like maybe someone from city staff to contact them and find out what would be their needs. The South Feather Water is a large provider of water in our community, and I certainly don't want to have a problem created by their system being not licensed for water and power both. So
We'll have either Matt Thompson or Mike Massaro look into that. Mike is our representative on our state water board.
Any other council members? I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of comments. I've received some correspondence in the last couple of weeks, some letters, some emails, some text messages. The content was nearly verbatim of each other. And let's see, I've been called a bully, a coward, a liar, stupid. So I just want to let you know that I've received your correspondence. You know who you are. And it's very interesting to me that every one that I received correspondence from is associated with the same group. So I'm a little concerned with your ill feelings towards your mayor, but anyone who wishes to call me and speak respectfully, we can have a conversation. But hit and run on a keyboard is not a very respectful way to communicate. And I will tell you this, each one of these correspondents was appalled that at the last meeting I referred to a mobile hygiene unit as a wash wagon. Please watch the tape twice like I did and see that I never referred to anything as a wash wagon. Not one time. And no one on this council did. So please get your facts straight before you spew your venom. At least be accurate. And then I can apologize. Thank you. All right. Future agenda items?
Actually, I have an item. Would like to see if the council would want to move forward for it for a future agenda. We have in our community an amazing group of volunteers. I know we have our VIPs with the police department, and also we are as a city served by the Stars in the community. They do a lot of graffiti cover up for us, of which I'm not sure which businesses in town haven't been well, I'm sure there's tons that haven't been benefactor from them. But anyway, they go around, it's one of their main things is covering up graffiti. The reason why I know about it is I have one of my friends is involved with that, and he was just wasn't looking for funding, but just mentioned that their funding for the paint was drastically cut by the county. And I know that they do serve here in town, so possibly at least since they serve us, either one of two things, picking up some of that burden on our VIPs, or potentially giving some funding to the stars so that they can take care of the graffiti in town.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. We'll bring something back on that too.
Is there anyone else?
I'd like to make a comment. Oh, go ahead.
That was Siri talking to you.
Oh, was it Siri or I thought, okay, one of the council members.
Council member, sir.
Okay. Just a comment, on Sunday, last Sunday, I was at Riverbend Park, and parts of it's in this city, but it's adjoining the city. And I saw the Sheriff's Work Alternative Program with a huge crew, and they were weed eating the entire park. And I gotta say, thank you. Good kudos to the Sheriff's Office, getting that done. Those guys were out there in a very hot time of day and doing a very good job, weed eating that whole end of the park. So it's nice to see that program helping out our parks in their area. So big plus to that in Sheriff Honig's office out there.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for future agenda items? Having none, we're moving on to administration reports. Mr. Lando.
We have a great deal of interest in development. There are tax credits available, and Leo, Dawn, Bill, Amy are all working on this, but within the last 2 days, I think we have 4 separate projects that are coming in to talk to us in the next couple of weeks. They have to get their act together very quickly to qualify, but it's interesting to see how much interest there is. And I will take a little dig at the place I used to work. Some of those folks are coming here because they were having a hard time in the other jurisdiction. And they're very interested in developing here.
Where did you start? Thank you. Wes, did you have anything for us? No? Dawn?
With the crews returning back to work full-time this week, they've started their normal routines of park maintenance, getting back to the weed abatement, or beginning the weed abatement. They've cleaned up, the Parks and Trees Department has cleaned up numerous dump sites around town. Recently, they've been picking up mattresses on the side of the road, sofas, things of that nature, just trying to keep the appearance of the city up. Also, they've installed numerous regulatory signs, warning signs, things like that. So they're back to their normal routine. Also, for our parks and facilities reservations, we have canceled those for the month of May. We are still holding off on canceling for June just to see what the governor's actions are. But as far as our museums go, those are still closed, and we may continue to have those closed through June, just because our docent population is still at the of-risk level. So we just wanted to update the council there.
Thank you. Ruth?
Just working on finalizing the budget. I'll have a preliminary budget to you in the next council meeting in June. Also, our annual audit is already starting. They were going to come at the end of May to do their interim field work, and we're going to try to do that all electronically this year, so that's something new to us, but they have a long list of items to look at, so we're busy. Very happy to have our staff back yesterday.
Thank you.
I ought to also emphasize that Ruth and council and Bill, the city's in so much better financial shape than virtually any other city in the North State, as you may be reading about cutbacks in other communities.
I'd like to comment on that as well. We have a first-rate, top-notch team here, and I just want to thank every one of them for not only doing a good job, working well at their job, but working well with each other. It's a good team. It just feels like a wave in the same direction when we see the progress happening in this town. And thank you, because you are the ones that are making it happen. You are the ones that are the gears and the nuts and bolts. We just get to sit up here and make decisions based on what you told us, and it has been accurate and effective. Thank you. Chief?
Just as I said at the last meeting, I'd bring back some numbers on the POP team. It's, they're just, when these stats were taken, was just at the close of their first month from April 6th, first 3.5, 4 weeks. I got a lot of numbers here, but the ones that stand out the most is, and you got to keep in mind, when they started this, I told them due to the situation, they had to kind of go slow, which the 3 that were picked on that don't like to do that, but they did. Some of the numbers, camp abatements, they abated camps at 7 different locations in the city, and during that, they offered services to 49 different individuals. I don't have a report on who took what, but that's how many people were offered services. There was 35 traffic stops during those, 21 citations issued, 41 arrests were made during that time period. And of those arrests, 3 of those included major narcotic sales cases where our task force was brought in and involved in, and 2 firearms were taken off the streets.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I can say this. I just want to tell the story about the POP team recognized the wanted felon. Can we talk about that?
There was a couple.
One where they ended up in the chase and he ran.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. I just refer to it as a grow. If we can.
And the wanted felon tried to outrun them, and the POP team was in hot pursuit, and he ran right up and parked and ran through the middle of a 2,000 plant marijuana grow, which was confiscated.
That was where one of the firearms seized came from.
Mm-hmm.
Our county marijuana unit came up and assisted in that. There was I believe 2 arrests, 2,000 plants, and a firearm.
Yes.
Loaded.
Yes. So great job.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Leo?
Thank you. First of all, I want to also dovetail on the POP team. Spoke with Wade this morning, and he said they've been coordinating really well with Public Works as well on the cleanups, and he says it's gone well, plenty of notice, and they seem to be working well together on that as well. So you guys made a commitment on that side to fund that, and I just want to let you know that's taken off in really good fashion. Additionally, we actually started a demo on the police station remodel yesterday. So that's moving forward. We also are about a month out on someone was asking me about, I can't remember, about the Ruddy Creek annexation. They're about a month out for, we're helping support them in getting that annexed in the city for that subdivision. Dawn and Tom and other staff have been working really hard on getting the MSR and the development impact fee study back and forth with the consultants on that. And additionally, we, as Tom mentioned, we have a ton of people going after those 9% tax credits. So right now we have a couple of the developers are already working on Sierra Highlands. They're looking at going after the second phase on that farther up the hill. Additionally, out here on Nelson, the first phase they're already working toward. They're looking at going after phase 2 on that. As well as a few other developers have been talking to us, again, as Don alluded to, getting into town in the next couple of weeks. Applications need to be filed by, I believe, July 1st in order to qualify for those, so they're up against it. Additionally, the vast majority of everybody coming back was excited to be back to work this week. I think I want to give all of you credit for the fact that, it looks like the state is going to follow a week behind us. And the fact that I think you guys did a really great job of seeing what's best for our community and how it works, and I applaud you for that. Once again, we're busy. I mean, we're breaking ground on the demo of Ron's Drive-In for Starbucks. We have multiple public works projects are now out to bid or are about ready to finish bidding, and I mean things are rolling. So it's seems like we're just kicking back off where we left off. So anyway, thank you.
Quick question before you leave.
Yeah.
The tax credit projects, are those pretty much all multiple unit housing apartments?
Yes. Yes, and I've also been, some of them are looking for some of the market rate mix, so I've also talked about pushing them over to talk with Ed over at, for the Housing Authority as well, and the
Good,
Section 8
good.
vouchers as well. So,
Good to hear, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two most recent are talking mix.
Got a question also, is, in regards to sidewalks, is the city involved with the, like, can we get a report or as far as sidewalk projects and not just, fixing, but new sidewalks? I know there's a bunch all over the city that,
Yeah, we're working on the ATP mobility project, which kicked off now, which is a 162 connector all the way from the freeway on up 162. Between there's about $4 million into that we're getting this curb gutter sidewalk all the way up. There's some gaps that we'll be participating with some funds on that. We're chasing, there's about 15 parcels that we need to chase after on those. Additionally, we're involved in the grant to try up off Foothill for the school to try to get, and the school district's been being great with us as far as trying to participate to try to get sidewalk put in at least on one side of that coming down the hill, because the kids are walking down the middle of the road with traffic going, so that's been real dangerous. And actually, when we went out to about a mile, I think on the radius, we're talking like 900 incidents within a mile of that we've had over the course of years. So it's a very busy area, and so we're working. Those are two major projects. I mean, and quite frankly, it's gonna be great because if we got the one. And that'll probably end up by the end of it being about 80% match fund kind of thing. They're 80-20, and when we fill the gaps in, and then the other one similar. So you're looking. I mean, these are big dollars. I mean, we got $4 million on one. The other one I think is in the same range on. That's grant money. So that's terrific to be able to be in a fiscally healthy situation that we can leverage some of our funds to leverage against getting that much free money, so to speak. So, yeah.
in regards to, thank you, in regards to more of the, I know there's a Safe Path to School program, but in regards to those type of sidewalks for the neighborhoods around town, could you do me a favor and present maybe a list of proposed projects or future projects or itemize of things that are like where they're at and things that maybe where we want to go and where we want to address to make because it not only makes it safer for the kids, but it also just makes it nicer for the community to have those sidewalks. It really brings the streets to a whole new level of presentation to have an actual sidewalk as opposed to just gravel on the side of the road.
Yeah, well, we can bring some forward as well as to dovetail on that. We also find the pride of ownership in the houses that are behind those curb gutter sidewalk with those defined ends. Actually, we notice quite a bit of difference on how people take care of their property when they have those installed as well. So did you have some?
I just wasn't sure if you were going to mention that.
Thank you.
And then just quickly on that, we do have our barrier removal plan, and part of that is all the corners. Where we have the accessible corners and that. So that gets worked on all the time. In Chapter 12 in the municipal code also we have where we have projects over $52,000, we require a participation on your frontage. We're looking at changing that a little bit so that we can do something similar. It really punishes people if they have like 100 feet of frontage on a single family dwelling compared to the next guy who's only got 40 feet, right? And so we're looking at doing some in lieu fees that would go into a bucket. Then we could actually leverage against some of that grant money that would allow us to go after some more. Some of the money you get 100%, but much of it is if you have matching funds, it opens up a whole nother bucket of money that you can go after. And so we're looking at changing that a little bit to try to make it more equitable for the citizens who, single family dwelling next to a single family dwelling, one shouldn't be on the hook for 100,000, the other 20. And so we're trying to do that, and then we'll put that into a fund to be able to leverage that against some other grant money as well, specifically for frontage. So.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report administratively.
Thank you. Mr. City Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have just a few things to report. The first one that I'd like to report is both good and bad. The city vehicle that was left in the parking lot out here, which is regularly left out there, is a flex vehicle. Last Friday, sometime overnight from Thursday night to Friday morning, someone vandalized it. It was spray painted with black spray paint all over it. Ms. Nevers immediately recognized that as a problem and jumped on that and took care of him because, quite honestly, because of her quick action and the support of Pioneer Auto Body, they were able to actually polish that off. So instead of having to paint the whole vehicle, it cost us about $300 to get that vehicle repaired and looking in very good condition. So, which was a could have been, it was bad enough we had to spend $300, but it's much better than spending, $5,000 on a paint job. So I do appreciate staff's quick action on that and taking care of that. A couple of things that you need to be aware of that is going on with city right now is we're working with Orville High School District, which includes the Las Plumas High School, the Orville High School, and the Orville Adult School, to provide a facility, which will be our municipal auditorium, for a graduation this year. It's going to be, we're not really sure what the particulars of it will be, but it's going to be something where the individuals can be driven up, dropped off. They can walk through the facility as an individual across the stage, which is done now, receive their diploma, get back in the car behind it, and drive from the facility. Kind of some of the ideas that's been passed around is it'll all be filmed, and then it'll be shown in a drive-in style of movie, so that the children do get, or the graduates, young adults do get their graduation. One thing I think, and why this is important to us, is that we have a group of young people that have went through a heck of a lot in the last 3 years. I mean, from 2017, they thought they were going to be drowned. 2018, they were under the impression that they were going to suffer from fire, and now they have something invisible trying to get them. And I know we have a lot of life experience behind us, but somebody who only has a limited 15 to 18 years of life experience, that can be terrifying. So we need to celebrate them and give them everything that we can, including our support. The other thing that we're doing with them is we're working with Stott to get their photographs put up on the billboard coming out into town to celebrate our graduates out there. So give them the recognition that they deserve for their accomplishment of graduation. If you're not aware, the city receives a certain number of seconds per month that are at no cost to us, and we will be utilizing those seconds to get these pictures up there and celebrate these graduates. Unless I hear something different from the council that you would like us to do differently.
It's a great idea.
The last thing that I have to do is I need to, for myself and for the good of the organization, particularly myself, though, is I need to make an apology to the council and an apology to Councilperson Draper. I became overwhelmed with my emotional response at the April meeting to a comment that was made. It's inappropriate. My staff needs to know I should never, nobody should ever speak to the council as I did. I apologize for that. I apologize to the council. I apologize to Councilperson Draper. I will try to do better. I'm not going to be deceitful and say that it will never happen again. I will tell you that, a person only deserves a certain number of opportunities, and then something different needs to occur. But I will do my best to make sure that doesn't. I respect this body very much. I respect this city. I respect the citizens of Oroville, and I meant no disrespect, but I know how it came off. So I do sincerely apologize for that, and I would instruct my staff to never follow that role model. That is not the way to model or mentor, and, I did not perform well that day, so I extend my apology. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Could I add a comment there? And Bill, I appreciate your apology and thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, with that,
I've got one more quick item I'd like to mention. I believe the DBA is putting on the drive-in movie event this upcoming weekend. I don't know if anybody's aware, but that was so popular that their website went down, and they had to come back and put everyone on a lottery list if you're going to get accepted to that. And I'm not on the lottery list. So my suggestion to the DBA, they ought to have more of those events, because that was hugely accepted. And it was like, it opened up Saturday at 10 o'clock. By 10:10, the website was already gone down, was overpacked. So good for DBA to come up with an idea. They need to probably do it more weekends, because it was hugely popular.
And Mr. Mayor, just to miter into that joint, we are also working with the, I was remiss in not saying this, the DBA is intimately involved with us with this graduation, working on that. So they are offering resources and a coordinator. So this is an effort of the community, the city of Orville, the high schools, and the DBA. So we're very appreciative and grateful of that.
Thank you. Did you wish to say anything about the fireworks?
We're still looking to hopefully have fireworks. I believe the chamber did a study, and what were the results of that?
Yeah, since you asked, yeah, we did do a study and basically started a poll, and just to take the temperature of the community. And the question essentially was that if we had that event, would you come? And so we had over 1,000 people respond to the poll, and over 75% overwhelmingly said yes, we're ready for some fireworks. We're ready to get out of the house, and it's been long enough. We've been cooped up. So with that being said, we're going to obviously share that with the committee.
Sure.
And and then of course that'll be a collaborative effort and see where we go with that.
Okay.
Thank you. If there are no more comments, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Next meeting will be June 2nd, 2020 at 5 p.m.